I had a client recently just be bombarded with tons of requests for her time, her talents. And she was like, how on earth do you say no gracefully? And I was like, oh, can I relate? It's so difficult when we have a lot of great opportunities coming our way. Today, I hope to equip you with the best way to say no, how to do it gracefully, and how to really evaluate what you want to say yes to. Well, hi there. My name is Dawn. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, a homeschooling mom, and a Jesus lover. My hope is to empower you with great intention so that you can live a life of deep connection with God and your family. So how do we say no? How do we say it in a way that doesn't sound apologetic? How do we say it in a way that is honoring to the other person and helps them to feel like we are just affirming them in the process? It is such a difficult balance. I really needed a lot of coaching on this because in my early 20s particularly, I remember I was in grad school. I had just newly moved into an apartment on my own. I was trying to balance all of the responsibilities kind of for the first time, where I had several jobs and I was putting myself through school. I wasn't married. I didn't have children. So I did have a little bit of discretionary time, but I still ran into things that I didn't necessarily feel called to, and I didn't also feel like I wanted to do. And so I reached out to my good friend Vicki, and you guys have heard me mention her before. She's my lifelong mentor. She could be a mother to me. She could be a grandmother to my children. She is a woman who is full of joy and always knows how to connect me right with Jesus. It's so amazing. What a gift. I'm so thankful for her. She has this cute little Minnesotan accent, even though she no longer lives in Minnesota. And she said, oh, when you want to say no, all you have to do is say, oh, that doesn't work for me. And I was like, it's really that simple? She said, yeah, it's that simple. That doesn't work for me. With a big smile. And she says, oh, you never need to apologize. You never need to say anything about like, oh, I'm so sorry that it's just not going to work. I have to do this. I have to do this. You do not actually have to give an explanation. That may be news for some of you. For many years, I had sort of a sense of poor boundaries in this area, and I was learning that I actually can say no freely, even if I just am not up to it. I don't have to have a justification or a really solid excuse or reason, because actually when I'm following Jesus, I just have to march out my ordered steps. Now, sometimes he does call us to say yes to some things that aren't comfortable or what we feel like doing. We know that. And then there are other times when a lot of opportunities might come along that you similarly feel like, I don't feel like Jesus is actually drawing me to commit to this particular thing, and yet I feel I should. And so we kind of bounce between, I think, these two extremes. And I want to empower you to bring the opportunities that come your way, because there's never a shortage of them. I encourage you to bring those to God and ask Jesus. You know, it's so simple. We just forget. We forget to involve him in every detail of our lives. And so sometimes I might say, okay, Jesus, do you want me to handle the fundraising for this particular group? And he might say, no, honey, I don't. I have somebody else in mind for that. And when I know that he's got somebody else, or that I'm not the one that he has in mind, I can actually say no with so much grace, because it would be doing them a disservice if I sign up for something that actually isn't in the will and path of God for me. So I can say to them, you know what? Thank you for asking. That does not work for me. And then if it's an awkward pause, let it be an awkward pause. And what's hilarious about this video is like someone's going to watch this that I've said this to. So I just got to be real. This is how I say no. This is how we say no, is, you know what? That's just not going to work for me. I would love to help you, and it's not going to work for me. I love putting a statement at the front like that of my true heart's intention, and to let them know, like, thank you for asking. I would love to help, and not but. And it's not going to work for me this time. I hope you find somebody that's just perfectly suited for the job. And you can say that without any guilt, without any shame, without any regret or a pit in your stomach like, oh my gosh, I should have said yes, I'm a bad person because I didn't. No, because when we follow Jesus and we check in with him on these things, we are always seeking him, right? And so we have nothing to apologize for when we're following Jesus. He also is the author of a lot of unpopular decisions, isn't he? He often will lead me to do things that the world just simply does not understand. And I have learned that the unconventional ways of God really force and require my obedience. And so it may not be something that people really cheer for you when you are able to do this, but I am. I'm cheering for you. It's going, way to go, way to honor God, way to honor your own heart, way to be real and authentic. Sometimes we just can say a simple statement without giving all kinds of extraneous information. How many of you have had that friend who's like, okay, well, it doesn't work for me this time, and I'm so sorry, but they go on and on with these crazy justifications, and oftentimes the person isn't even looking for that. They're not necessarily feeling that way, but we tend to feel overly responsible or somehow guilty if we can't meet every need. You can't meet every need. You're not Jesus. You just get to follow him. And so if you find yourself overly concerned about, well, who's going to meet that need? Pray for them. Pray. Say, Jesus, who would you have meet that need? I just pray that you would send them quickly to that person, connect them, take care of the needs that that organization has or that person has. And Lord, thank you for helping me to follow you. Help me to hear your voice so I can walk in your ways and not commit to things that you haven't laid out for me to do. Isn't it hard to discern sometimes? Because things come along and sometimes they look really good. But just because something is a good opportunity doesn't make it right for you, doesn't make it part of what God has for you. And sometimes a lot of those extraneous commitments actually were distractions from things that I needed to be doing instead. In my earlier years, that when I was saying yes too much, sometimes I was doing it because I was avoiding the things that God was really calling me to do during that season. Back then, it was doing my own therapeutic work and really facing a lot of the trauma or emotional abuse that I had experienced in my earlier life. So sometimes we have to really evaluate, why do I feel compelled to say yes? Is it an avoidance issue? Is it because I feel like I have to? Is it over responsibility? It could be so many different things. And so I want to free you today to just follow Jesus. See what he has for you. Check in with him. If you don't hear God's voice in a burning bush, loud, audible kind of way, which by the way, I don't either, follow peace. Oftentimes it's easier to really go with the fruits of the Spirit. And so we know that he is the Prince of Peace. And so if I have peace about a decision, I may not know exactly all the ins and outs about it, but if I have peace, Jesus is in that decision. He's on the scene. And so I will follow that fruit of the Spirit and just simply put one foot in front of the other. And I'm telling you, 100% of the time, it's been the right decision because there's been peace on it. That's a great way to start as you're thinking about all the different commitments in your life and simplifying them. Which ones bring the most peace and which ones are you going to say no to? You're going to create space and it's going to be amazing. And God is going to use that space to bring something else about in your life. So remember, when we say no to one thing, we are saying yes to something else. Remember that a no is just a yes waiting to happen.